Shh, shh, shh. All right, we are live, and my house is active. Somebody just drove up outside. Baby girl just ran to the door. My husband's outside messing with the tree man. You can hear them talking, and if you hear noise, why you hear noise, okay? Look, and he is completely impervious to the fact that we're online. But anyway, hello, you guys. Who's here? Linda's here. Our super fan is here. Linda's here. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. That's my husband always gets busy right when it's time to go live. I don't know
Mhm.
what that is. It's just, I don't know. it's, it's like he's calm as everything until time to go live. And he can think of a million things to do. But
Mhm.
anyway, here he comes. Can you hear all that? You hear all that? That's
Just it's not very noticeable, but I can hear it.
oh, oh my gosh. Your chair. You coming over? I'm coming right here. Okay. ah, anyway, Linda, hello to you, my darling. What's up, boo? Hello, my Linda. Baby
Linda.
girl, if you lay down, we'll be good. You gonna lay down? She stirred. She stirred. Everybody stirred. what you preach last night, Pastor Norman?
Oh, from the topic undisturbed.
Oh, you still on that?
Yeah,
I've
cause
got to go back and listen to some of them. I haven't had a chance to do that.
yeah, uh, really again, trying to encourage the people that in spite of all that's going on, we should not let it affect our inner peace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
again, because according to what Paul said to Timothy, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. We
Yeah.
we emphasize a lot the power. We emphasize a lot the love, but we have not emphasized having a sound or a healthy or peaceful mind. And
True.
so, what happened on Sunday during our service, again, I've been highlighting that we're dealing with this spirit of unrest, and I try to explain it in a way that is not so much just a if we're talking about the entity, but there is a mindset,
Mm-hmm.
emotional tone of mood that is weighing not just on individuals and our churches or whatever. This is affecting the globe as a whole.
It is. It
So
is.
I talked about how when you begin to see anarchy, rebellion, people dealing with discontentment, discord, when you start seeing tumult, and the list goes on and on and on and on, those are all indicators of unrest. And so there's a restlessness in the atmosphere. But for us who have awakened, and of course, Isaiah said it best, just paraphrasing Isaiah 26, verse 3, he who mind is stayed on him, he will keep them in perfect peace. And so I've been trying to really help people to understand that we are not to allow anxiety to set in on us and affect us during this time while everything is running wild. And I mentioned on Sunday about another school shooting that I
Mhm.
felt was about to happen, only to be watching TV the very next day
I
and
know.
here
I
it
know.
came, breaking
I
news.
know.
And so that's where I've been. I've been kind of in tune to a lot of things that is about to happen, which is kind of I don't want to use the word scary, but it does. It can kind of like shake you up when you are hearing things, and then the masses is saying one thing and you're kind of in a different vein, and you
Mm.
want to make sure that you, like we say in the church, we are hearing from God. And
Yeah.
so I've been very accurate here recently, and so I just wanted the people to understand that there are things according to what Jesus said in Matthew 24. These things must happen. They're going to
Right.
happen,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there's
That's
really
good.
not much we could do. There are things that we can change based off of the essence of who we are, and there are things that we will not be able to change. Like Jesus said again, they must happen, and so
Yes.
we want
Yes.
them to be undisturbed in the midst of it.
Yeah. And on Tuesday night, I kind of opened up a can of because we were dealing with a young lady that we knew from way back in I opened a can up. The question was, what causes some people to awaken, to wake up, and others don't? Even though I know this particular person has a heart for God, but they're stuck in this time frame, or one part of their story and never gotten out of it. And so anyway, I opened that up and we kind of discussed it a little bit. You were there, I'm sure you remember that.
Mhm.
But the I recall Eckhart Tolle was the only one, and I'm not saying he is the only one that teaches this, but he is the only one I know of that teaches about the pain body. The
Mhm.
pain body. And if you look at our country right now, or the world, period, there is a very active pain body
Yes.
because there's so much pain and suffering going on, and disturbance, as you said.
Mhm.
So I wanted to read this morning. We can kind of jump off this and keep going, but this is what he says about the pain body and how he describes it. He says the pain body is a semi-autonomous energy form that lives within most human beings, an entity made up purely of emotion. It has its own primitive intelligence, not unlike a cunning animal, and its intelligence is directed primarily at survival. Like all life forms, it periodically needs to feed, to take in new energy. And the food it requires to replenish itself consists of energy that is compatible with its own, which is to say, energy that vibrates at a similar frequency. Any emotionally painful experience can be used as food by the pain body. That's why it thrives on negative thinking as well as drama in the relationships. The pain body is an addiction to unhappiness.
Mhm.
I thought that was very, very interesting. And then there's this other part I want to read right quick that kind of answers my question about why some wake and some don't. He says, an infant with only a light pain body is not necessarily going to be a spiritually more advanced man or woman than somebody with a dense one. Now, he before in the chapters prior to this, he's talking about how some are born with a very dense pain body. They already have pain that they've come through their parents, or whatever the conditions are. And so their pain body may be very, very dense, which means it would need to feed on in negative emotions. And okay, so let me just go on and finish this. He says, an infant with only a light pain body is not necessarily going to be a spiritually more advanced man or woman than somebody with a dense one. In fact, the opposite is often the case. People with heavy pain bodies usually have a better chance to awaken spiritually than those with a relatively light one. Whereas some of them remain trapped in their heavy pain bodies, many others reach a point where they cannot live with their unhappiness any longer, and their motivation to awaken becomes strong.
Mhm. Yeah. And that is so not just profound, and I'm just gonna say it is very accurate because we've all heard the statement misery loves company.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so if I'm a miserable person because of that pain body, and it's the entity that I created, um, then it's going to want to feed. And so I'm going to constantly want to hang around people that are just as miserable as I am. And if
Mhm,
and what's
mhm,
so funny about it is if I can't find someone that has the same spirit, and people don't understand, spirit is not always making reference to attitude. Spirit deals with our ability to be enthusiastic or whatever our attitude or mood is. That word spirit also can define that. But if I can't find anyone that is as miserable as I am, and I'm around all these positive thinking people, I'm going to create a scenario.
You
That's
know,
what.
you made me think of something. Sometimes my sweetie pie here, when he goes out and he meets people, it's like he's just light. He lights up and he's just jovial and very, very outgoing and Nobody's a stranger, and I'm going to talk to you, and we're going to laugh. We're going to talk. Some people look at him, if they are in already in their negative emotions, they look at him and actually get upset because he's so happy.
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
resent him being happy.
And under their breath, they will probably say, "What is he so jovial about? What he's so happy about?"
I
And
know
there
it's
go that
funny.
pain body again.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
pain body, and there are some, like the yesterday I went to the grocery store. There were in the grocery store. I don't know what has happened with some of the pricing, but prices like it elevated again. And so there were all of these older women, my age and older, who were shopping, and they weren't buying. They were just looking, riding around looking with their carts, and grumbling because the prices were so high. So
Mhm.
it's like the pain body is so, the I'll say the universal pain body is now activated. And so we're seeing a lot of people who are just, they're just upset, just very upset. And it's feeding. And that's why we have all of these other issues taking place, all these other events taking place, like the shooting. There's people that are hurting, and they're hurting other people.
Exactly.
And it's feeding.
And that's another saying: hurt people hurt people.
Hmm.
And so, like Eckhart Tolle said, and I'm glad that you mentioned about it's a universal pain body because you mentioned it last week, Mom, about epigenetics. Yeah,
Epigenetic. Hmm.
how there are certain behaviors and hereditary things that's passed on, but it
Hmm.
doesn't shift the DNA. There's no DNA change.
Right.
So that is what's happening universally. People are passing things on, mood sets, attitudes, perceptions. All of this is being transferred, and it's happened because they are not awakened. It's
True.
happening because they're still yet in a sleep state, and it's
Hmm.
happening through subconscious. Again, you talked about energy. There's no actual. You can't get rid of energy. It just changes
Yes.
forms and so forth. And so, but that's what's happening. And so it's been a concern. It's been much talk. Many people have been reaching out. But again, my prayers is that we catch revelation. A scripture that I've been using a lot is Proverbs 29, verse 18, where it says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish. But
Hmm.
happy is he that keepeth the law." There's several translations where it's actually saying, and the one that I like is from the Amplified version, where it says, "Where there is no revelation of
Hmm.
God and his word, then guess what? The people cast off restraints and they run wild." And
Yes.
that's what we're seeing.
Yes, we are. We are.
Because of the lack of insight and revelation of who we really are, which y'all have been sharing for years, who we really are, not only have we lost touch with our divinity, we are now losing touch with our humanity.
Yes, and just yesterday we had another heart-to-heart talk, the two of us, and we come to the conclusion, while we know who we are in essence, we have discovered that who you are has and your self-worth has nothing to do with what you have accomplished.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
has absolutely nothing to do with what you've accomplished.
And,
But in our Western world, particularly, this is how we measure ourselves.
exactly. And that's what I was getting ready to say. I just talked to a couple Monday how so many people are getting caught up once again in the rat race of trying to achieve the American dream. And
Mhm,
again, it's about how much money you have, the
mhm,
cars you drive, how big
mhm.
your house is the measurement of success. And that is not true. And so
Yes, yes.
I love the fact that you said that I could do all of that and still not know who I am.
Yes.
Perfect example. Miles Monroe in his book In the Pursuit of Purpose. He started off with the story concerning the gentleman who was walking the beach and he saw another gentleman in the ocean really about to drown himself, kill himself. And he goes and rescue the man and notice he's the wealthiest businessman in their community, in their city. And he's
Mhm.
shocked, wondering, why are you trying to kill yourself? You have all the money, you are the big dog, and so forth and so on. He said, which the guy replied, "You don't understand. All those things I have achieved, that's not what I ever wanted to do. All I wanted to do would be wanted to be a guitar player in a band.
Wow.
That's
Oh,
it." And so we going back to what I shared with you guys before, we and so many we are guilty and not on intentionally, but we are just not aware of it, that we have got caught up in trying to fit an image that is being projected on us
Mhm.
of
Yes,
success and
yes,
being a great preacher or pastor, whatever, and it's killing us. It's imprisoning us.
yes.
And like I said, I came to my own period of awakening and evolving. That hey, I've been delivered. I am no longer caught up in trying to do certain things to get the applause of the people.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to pump you up, excite you. This is it. I mean,
This
you
is
said
it.
it, others have said it. If Jesus was here now and he was teaching, he would probably be the boringest teacher, preacher around, because he was out hooping and hollering and so forth
Mhm.
and so on. And so,
Mhm.
again, mankind as a whole is coming to the place where the very things that they have projected is now suffocating
Yes, yes. And I heard, I watched these videos, little short videos. I think I may have showed one of them to you before, but from a channel, YouTube channel called Green Renaissance. And they have all these inspirational videos. They're usually not more than 10 minutes long, some are less than that. But there was one where this man was talking about when is it enough? And he said, I need a car, but I don't need a Porsche.
you. Hmm.
So see, this is where we've gotten caught up. It's not that you don't need to have a car, but you don't need to have one that's going to cost you a whole lot to service. You don't
Hmm.
or to pay taxes on. I mean, you don't need that. But and it's okay if people have the money and they buy that. That's okay. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about where our focus lies. And there was a young lady we watched on YouTube as well. Her name is Black China. Some of you may have heard of her.
Yes. Hmm.
Black China now is undoing all of the body alterations that she's had, even down to the fake fingernails.
Hmm.
She's taken out all the implants on the face and on her behind, and and trying to get back to who she is naturally,
Exactly.
because she said she realizes now, she said she played the role of Black China, but that is not who she is. She wants to get back to who she is. What her real name was, Angela. She says, I need to get back to Angela.
Hmm.
So here it is. This young lady is beginning to wake up spiritually and realizing that she's built this false image, and it is not her, and it doesn't bring her fulfillment. And so we have all done the same thing. We may not have done it with body alterations, but we've done it with physical things,
Hmm.
uh, material things. We've done it with hairstyles. We've done it with clothes. We've done it with houses. We've done it with running with certain people. I heard Eckhart Tolle say one time. He said his ego always wants to drop the name drop. He wants to say, "I know Oprah. I have her number."
There you
So
go. There you
we've all done it. We've built these
go.
images or tried to build these images that are not us. So knowing who you are goes deeper than a spiritual experience of seeing that you're one with God. It goes beyond that. It goes all the way to who you are authentically. What in this body, as this body? What are you authentically?
Hmm.
And and like you said, living from people's opinions, or what they desire for you to do, what they expect, their expectations, all that pulls you away from your authenticity.
Hmm. And so
So
you become someone else other than what you really supposed to be. And
exactly,
I like
exactly.
that you said that because, and going again, being a preacher, um, I had a situation. This was back in actually I bought my car in 2019. So it was in 2020, December 2019 when I bought the new orange 2020
Mm,
Ultima sports edition. It was on the commercials and stuff. But I actually went and I bought I was test driving a white one, and I felt like I said, yeah, I'm gonna get this until I saw the orange one on the showroom floor, and I didn't know it was the same exact car. But I was loving the color of it, and I
Mhm,
was loving the
mhm,
inside, and
mhm.
there were so many people around the car to the point I'm like, nope, I'm gonna tell this guy get the key now. This is the one I want. So now it's an Altima, Nissan Altima. It's not a Mercedes, it's not a BMW, Porsche, whatever stuff like that. And so I had a friend of mine one day who said to me, well, not so much of a friend, but was part of the church, and he saw my new car, orange Altima. Now remember, I was driving the 300 as well, the white 300, but
Mhm.
we traded those in, and so he said to me, he said, "Well, I see you got that car like that. That's a nice car." He said, "But that's probably just your running around car, right? Because you know, you being a preacher, you supposed to be having a BMW or Mercedes." And he was being
Ah, he was serious.
very serious. The mentality, the idea that if you are a preacher, let alone quote unquote in the eyesight of people, a successful preacher, you're supposed to be driving a certain style of car.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people suffer, they create suffering trying to obtain
Yeah.
not so much a materialistic thing, but you're trying to obtain a image that
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
people are projecting on you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're not being who you really are. I like I told him, I love what I love. I'm at the
Yeah.
place in my
Yeah.
life right now. I love what I love, and whatever I love, that is what I'm going to buy, or whatever
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
to do, I'm going to do, and it's not predicated on what other people think about me.
Right. And we've been there, done that. We wore that t-shirt. We've had Hummers, we've had all kinds of cars. And so but never did we get it because we thought it would impress other people. We That's because we just liked it. And at the time we had the money to afford it. Now I look back and I think I wish I wasn't so stupid. I could have kept some of that money. But it and then there was a time when I had to have, for me, I was dealt with about what the car made me feel when I drove it. And the ego says you're better than everyone else. You're an elite group,
Hmm.
uh, which 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 your ego loves. And then I was dealt with like, when am I going to feel the same self worth if I rode in a Volkswagen than I would if I rode in a Rolls Royce?
Hmm.
So it wasn't about the thing, it was about my feelings around it. And
Hmm.
so I like what Linda said. She said some people don't even like to be alone because they need others to tell them who they are. And
Hmm.
perhaps that's why people crave fame. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's what my husband's been dealing with. Not so much the fame or anything, but having people to minister to, and now not having that one-on-one with people, it's made him feel like he's lost touch. And so in a way, and he's dealt with, he'll say it, he'll tell you himself, he's had to deal with that image of being that preacher. That identity is what he's feeling now, is the crumbling of that identity.
Hmm.
And
And we
we
would
both
all
have.
went through that. We all went through that because again, when you are consistently doing the same thing over and over and over again, it becomes you. It becomes part of you. And so
Mhm.
again, I was sharing with someone again concerning Bold Ministries International. Bold Ministries International was a church that everybody wanted to come to. I mean, people was coming from everywhere, standing room only, so forth and so on. And again, I share with them, and it's rubbing some people the wrong way. And I'm being honest. There are a lot of people that's having an issue with me making a statement concerning I'm not the same man that I was before the pandemic. This man that y'all are dealing with is totally different from the one that y'all knew before the pandemic happened, before we had to shut our doors down, and so forth and so on. Now, it may be rubbing them the wrong way, and it's not that, because again, we could be egotistic and not know it. But
Yes.
I've come to a place of peace that
Hmm.
I again being delivered from being confined to fit what other people think of you and miss out on you. Like for example, and you asked me every time we come on, whatever, you've been to the gym today, whatever. I go to the gym a lot. I
Mhm.
it's actually become my sanctuary,
Yeah.
and it's because I have such peace. I feel healthy. I feel one with who I am or whatever. And it really don't have to do with anything else or transformation or nothing. It's just a place where I am at a place of peace.
Mhm.
And I'm not concerned about anyone because most of the time I work out by myself. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I am doing things, I'm embracing things that I once enjoyed that I gave up because of ministry.
Mhm.
I gave it up trying to fit other people, whatever stuff like that. Y'all know Dad was the same way,
Yeah.
with and all this stuff like that. And now I could care less about a suit. I'll go and minister in a sweatsuit. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so my prayer is, especially as still yet a leader of a movement here in the low country. I can't say Moscona no more. We're not having services in Moscona anymore, but in Somerville, so I say low country. I want the people to understand it is okay to wake up. Dad said something to me many years ago, and it caused me to burst out in tears immediately. And I think you remember this, Mom, when we were
Mhm.
there. We went to the Japanese restaurant to eat, and we was all just talking, having a good time. And then Dad looks at me out of nowhere, like he always do, and he says, "In order for you to be successful and achieve all the things you want to do at Bold, you got to go back to sleep." And immediately I start crying. I didn't even have a time to think or to process. It was like it hit me in the chest. Tears started coming out of my eye, and me not even knowing my response, it came out, but I don't want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So
And
I
you know,
realized
and
at
the,
that moment it wasn't the Norman preacher, it was the true person
yeah.
inside of me that
Yeah.
did not want to go
Yeah.
back to sleep because
Yes.
I would never be authentic.
Yes. And when he said that, coming from a place of that's, and I wanted to say this because you mentioned it, some of them having trouble with the way you're saying it and what you're saying. What I realized, they didn't walk off from us. We walked off from them
Mhm.
because we woke up, and uh, they couldn't go with us.
Mhm.
It wasn't that they left us; they couldn't go with us, and so, uh, and that's why I said to you last week to take the scriptures which they depend on, take those scriptures and unlock them to the
Mhm.
point that you can help open their eyes to, for some, not for all, but that's what, and that way you don't lose all of them. There
Mhm.
are some that will go with you when they see, when they understand, when they fully understand. Because we had some that stay with us, and some of them are right here, right now. Sharon, she stayed with us. Sandra stayed with us. They stay when they see, and
Mhm.
so you would probably be more proficient in helping them to see than we were, which is great. And I'm hoping that you actually succeed us. Go ahead and do it. Uh, there's no competition and no jealousy, no wanting to hold you back. Want you to do better than we ever did. But we wore that T-shirt of having the image of the prosperous pastor.
Mhm.
We had the large congregation, 500 plus. We've had the big building. We've had the overhead of more than $12,000 a month. No, actually around 20,000 a month,
Mhm.
just to meet expenses, and had to deal with whether people were going to support that. So we've been there, wore that T-shirt. So I don't miss that. Uh, I miss people, but I don't miss that.
Exactly.
I
Exactly. I
don't
see
miss
it
that.
there. Yeah.
But getting back to why people, some wake up and some don't, there are so many reasons why a person would not be authentic. And Linda touched one of them. But there's so many reasons, like the young lady Black China that I mentioned. She did it because she wanted the attention that she never got. And she mentioned that. that she never got that attention, and so she had to do whatever she wanted, whatever she could to get that attention. And so now she's wanting to be uh, a voice of change to
Mm-hmm.
people who have had that same desire, and that altering your body does not give you that fulfillment. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. She's
It is.
awake, but she's not necessarily churched or in a spiritual community in the sense of going somewhere and reading a spiritual text, and she's just waking up to her authenticity.
And I'm glad you said that because that is what and I have to say because we still deal in the circle, the church world, and that's when I'm trying to help those that I pastor or I lead. I'll say that um, that in the midst of this awakening, a lot of people that is truly awakening is not part of. I'll say this way: the religious or spiritual community that we are part of.
That's right.
We
There
have
are
been
not.
guilty. We have been guilty of being very judgmental, and once again judging those that's not part of our community. If you're not this, then we have no dealings with you. And that's something I shared again this week with so many people that, yeah, there are certain things that I personally do not agree with different lifestyles or whatever. But it does not mean that I have no association with them. I've had them ask me that, well, I'm this type of person. Why are you talking to me? Why are you cutting up with me? Because I'm not bothered by. I mean, even though I may not accept it and it's not something for me, why am I to judge you?
Yes.
Why am I not to love you? I've had a lot of them ask me that, and I said again, it's because we have to understand, especially the ministry of Jesus, and understand the core essence of God. He is love. He loves everybody.
That love nature is the key. My
Exactly.
honey pie's sitting here waiting for us to shut up, and he's getting sleepy.
Oh,
No.
You're getting sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
I know you are. You didn't sleep much last night, but you
wow.
want to say something? You want to say something?
Okay. When I started 50 years ago in this finite time, who was asking for a Coca Cola and I kept drinking iced tea? Now, this is metaphorically speaking. When it said, "It is no longer I that live,"
Mhm.
we can read that. But let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
There will come a time when everything you read and see in this world will not be able to match up with what you found out about the non-doing self. The non-doing self is just a saying. And here's what I found out again. I went home every night and I got on my knees and I prayed, "Lord, forgive me for my sins." And I tried to name every one of them. But when I got to the end of the list, I had to start all over again.
Yeah, it's a never-ending list.
Yeah. Here's where I'm coming from.
That's a true statement.
You have to stay out of people's business. I'm talking about people, not God.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
All right. I'm going to say some real drastic things now in this. God is really not interested in you finding him. He's not interested in you seeing him, hearing from him. We read something in the book that's totally different than what I just said. Now, what I'm talking about is this. I said, now, how did this happen to me? And I wasn't asking for it. Some people call it grace. Maybe a little bit of grease in it, bacon grease, chicken grease, and ham grease and fish grease. But it's still pure.
Mhm.
What if I tell you God loves to live in hell? What if I tell you God is in hell, inside and outside? Now, I found this out. As many deliverances that back in the box that we cast out demons and things like that. Now, watch this. I never heard anybody, I heard, we said, Satan come out, spirit of lust come out. But we never did ask God to come out. It just didn't let, something didn't let us say that. Now, here's my point. The rest that it says that are there for the people of God is this. All you little light beings and big light beings that listen to this, you're going to have to sit down with God where he is at the moment and go ahead on and tell him that there's a part of you that ain't interested in him. You're going to have to talk and walk this thing out to the point where you will be brought to a place where there's not a dang gone thing that you're going to be able to do about changing Washington, D.C. There are thousands of people all over the country are suffering, no homes, wiped out from floods, and it's going on right now as we speak. God is in all of it, but he's not said anything about it. Now, a lot of the prophecies that you hear online, the prophets are saying God's going to do this, God go down in judgment and all that. I done got to the place, I'm going to be honest with you, I got to the place where I ain't interested in a thing God's talking about.
Through those prophets.
Huh?
Through those prophets.
Well, anybody.
That's what I mean.
And the reason why I say that is this. Here's what I found out. Somebody was asking for something that I wasn't asking for.
Some part of you was asking.
And I found out. Now, listen, I want you to know this, you guys. You can come on here and tell me what the Lord just showed you. You can tell me what you've heard said. You can go philosophize and philosophy and the whole thing. But let me share something. There comes a place where God don't even matter to you in the sense of trying to get him to turn the world upside down because it is in trouble. It is mad. It is insane. Now, I'm telling you this because 50 years I've been spinning my wheels in mud, praying, asking God. I did it when I was raised up in moonshine.
So it's been more than 50 years.
Yeah, I went in the closet. Everybody got quiet for a moment. But let me tell you something. It did not stop my uncle from selling liquor. It did not stop him from getting drunk and wanting to whoop my aunt's butt. It did not stop him from being a mean, a hateful, pull a knife on a man in a time. It didn't stop him. Now, here's this is a. I asked the question. I'm gonna tell y'all, not being in the ministry, and you can tell me that God had something else for me to do. You can tell me that it was time for what I was in to come to an end. That don't faze me. It's the part of me that is saying, I'm out of it. I'm no longer a preacher. I'm no longer a pastor. When it's based on brick and mortar and congregation and people, I'm out. I don't have that. I remember what I had, and I'm finding out that that wasn't me. And ain't none of it going to ever be you. Now, here's my point again. You come to the place where you don't have much to say to God or speak for God or act like God is with you. The more you get into this thing, you're going to find out nothing. You ain't going to find nothing. Now, people are praying. You know, you just said about there's a peace. You know, you ask God for peace. I don't even ask you for peace no more. I ain't looking for no more peace. I don't want no more peace. You know why? Because anybody got any sense knows that where we are now, if God is God, omnipotent and in everything, He already know. Now, well, He just wants you to pray. I ain't praying. I ain't praying. I ain't asking Him for nothing, and I ain't mad. And if I get mad at Him, I know who it is mad. Okay, let me. I'm gonna sum this thing. I'm trying to sum it up because the more I say, the more I see. You're not. There's some of you out there been trying for years to get your mind to shut up. There's some of you out there been trying for years to read books and study about Him, who He keep in purpose, peace, His mind on Him. So you get up every morning, read your Bible, pray, and then you get out the door. No sooner you get out in the door, your ugly hind end start talking again in your head like you're crazy. And I just asked God to stop it, and He didn't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been asking God over and over again, why was I put out of the ministry in the brick and mortar? Why don't I have to? Now, some of you guys, I think, got an answer. That's your business. I ain't got no problem with it, and I ain't mad at you. I just done found out. I done went all the way back to where I was before I ever heard anything about God and being saved. I mean, I'm telling you the truth. This and the more you find out who God is, the more hell is going to stick his head up to keep
That's true.
your attention in believing that this hell is going to be there, and you're going to find yourself praying over and over again. You could spend a lifetime trying to get your mind quiet, and that ugly, I want to say some ugly words, but that ugly thing will not stop.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you done run up and down stairs, prayed on every step. You done run out the front door and scream and holler. You done cussed everybody out. And I done found out, I heard somebody tell me on the phone, y'all heard me talk about it, call me on the phone, Reverend Sawyer, I told God I don't want to be bothered with him no more. I told him to get out of my life, and I think I just go commit suicide and end it all. I said, well, go right ahead. Go on ahead. Go right on ahead. I just don't know what to do. And they went on to talking and jabber, 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 jabber. And I just listened. Every time I get ready to say something, I go, and they get to talk, they just try to. I decided I just quit. I just sit there and listen. And do you know they would go on for almost hours on the phone and never have a breath or breaking down nowhere. And you know what? I just sit there and hold the phone in my head, phone out there, and be sitting there. Every time I try to say something, let me there. They cut that. I had to surrender to their mouth and they lip. When they done spent and burned themselves out, I don't know when it'll be next month, 2, 3 years, 50 years. I just sit there and wait. All the time they're talking, my mind is acting a fool. All right. There's a part of us that is not disturbed by anything that's going on in the earth.
Exactly.
I could not believe it's one of the hardest things to go through in my finite self and conditioned self is that I ain't got no further with him than it was before when I was born from my mother's womb.
That's funny.
Exactly.
That is funny. That is funny. Exactly.
That's my point exactly. Yeah,
We went all the way
around the world to say that.
Yeah.
But that's true.
We saw people in up there, Catherine Kuhlman, they done got drunk, cussed God out, told me they want to have nothing to do with him, and they go in the building, and before you know it, they get healed. Crippled people come out, and you know what? I heard this guy done laid out every evangelist told on online. They the crookedest preacher, they the false prophets and all that.
Well, listen, I want to say this because I saw this YouTube video of a preacher who was preaching, and they were praying so hard in their church and speaking in tongues, and they were yelling and running, and they were praying and doing all this stuff. You know how we do in those churches, and the kids were sitting there looking at them like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that cannot be real. Mm-hmm. Because if it were real, the children would be affected.
Exactly. I saw a similar video, and And I, again, I do not want people to be offended, but this is in the scriptures which we read. But I saw a video as well, Mom, of a young boy. There's a service going on. The people are singing, they're dancing, they're running. Praise team is up, and the little kid is and the little kid is actually saying this, and there's somebody that's got him recording him,
Uh-huh.
pulling his ears, and he's saying, "This is
It's
too loud.
too loud. I saw
This
that.
is too loud.
Mhm.
This is too loud." And so,
And his mama smacked him.
exactly. And so, I want people to understand. Now, this comes, like I said, I always want to put it back into other people. This is from the book that you guys want to preach from. All right. And it says, Amos, it says this, and I'm gonna read out the Amplified. No, better yet, I want to read out the Message Bible. I want to read out the Message Bible because I read it all about 26 translations, and it's all saying about the same exact thing. It reads, "I can't stand your religious meetings." Now this is God speaking through the prophet Amos now.
Mm.
"I can't stand your religious meetings. I'm fed up with your conferences and conventions. I
Mm.
want nothing to do with your religious projects,
Mhm.
your
Wow.
pretentious slogans and goals. I'm sick of your fundraising schemes, your public relations and image making. I've had all I can take of your noisy ego music. When was the last time you sang to me? Do you know what I want? I want justice, oceans of it. I want fairness, rivers of it. That's what I want. That's all I want."
Wow. And that's what scripture is that?
That's
Which
Amos chapter 5, verse 21 through 24. And
okay.
so again, and I've been sharing this with the congregation that I oversee. I want them to understand, no, we're not coming down. We all been through that. We've been
Mhm,
there.
mhm,
But
mhm.
when you are evolving, see, they got to a certain point and they settled there.
Yeah.
They built a memorial there, and they built all these ceremonies and religious, rituals around this, and they stopped evolving. And so
Yeah.
now I'm sharing with them, and I let them know that I'm sharing with you guys from a place of me evolving. All
Mhm.
right. And
Mhm.
we've been preaching from these things, and it's been right in front of us all this time.
All this time.
All God is interested in is, I ain't gotta say it.
That's
that's
right.
that's
Like
all. If
yeah.
it like dad and you mom as well, to realize who we really are. A
Mhm.
lot would not have to be said, a lot would not have to be done. We will experience what we call euphoria, where everybody's loving one another. There's no hate, this and that and that. But again, in the words of Jesus in Matthew 24, verse 6, and Dad said it. I'm so glad Dad said it because we have used the prophetic and our prayers to try to manipulate
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
order to feed the ego. If,
Mhm.
if, if we prophesy this and it come to pass, if we pray something and it shift, we've been
Yep.
trying to feed the ego with it. And that's what
Yep.
I've been trying to get people to understand. The
Yes.
prophetic and prayers has nothing to do with religious activity or trying to manipulate God into doing things. Again, he said there will be wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes, and divers. Play all the and he said these things must
Must be.
happen. But then he says this, but this is not the end. It is not
Right.
the indication of the end. And so that's where a lot of people are right now. You have
Yeah.
religious prophets now stating that this is the end time. We're
And
coming
then
in. And Jesus said, no, it is not the end. It is the beginning of sorrows.
yes, look, Pastor Norman, we're 75 years old, and they were saying that when I was a child.
Same here. Yep.
Whenever something came up that they didn't understand, that's the first thing they'd say. And it was and I won't say they because it was the people that we were associated with that said that. But it's important that what Dad said is we have come full circle all the way back to the person that the one that we were, the being that we are when we were just born.
Mhm.
We're right back at that. Right back at
A
that.
few months ago, maybe give or take a little, I could hear good.
Yeah.
I didn't have any shoulder place replaced. Didn't have no bariatric
About a
surgery
year ago.
a year
Year
ago.
ago.
Um, I I've been in the hospital for seemed like a whole lot going to the doctors. Um, I see Jesus. I see him. I see him in places where I ain't supposed to see him, and I know I see him. Let me tell you something, man. It has to come to a point where if you will live for the rest of these days and never see any change in your in character, you must find God. Now let me back up and say it. You can't find him. He told me you didn't find me. He said, I let you discover me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I discovered who God was, I felt not when I go in the closet and pray, I don't call it praying. I go in there. I mean, sometimes I want to talk straight out, but here lately I've been doing it so long. I say, well, look, I done put in enough deposit and dividends into this thing.
You
Exactly.
have some
And,
equity, right?
Yeah,
I've
Should
said
have some
the
equity.
same thing. I've said the same. I be literally saying, what more? What
Mm-hmm.
more? I mean, because all I'm going to become is repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
and for me to go in there and expect God to do something about my situation, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a part of me want to tell God to kiss my what you call it.
Okay.
Now watch
Mm-hmm.
this. Now I'm talking grown folks talk y'all.
Yes, you are.
I'm talking to the way some of y'all scared to talk about. I'm talking the way some of y'all been talking about it in your insane mind behind closed doors with your thoughts and feelings.
Well, can
I
I
was
help
in the
you out with
garage,
that, Dad?
huh?
Can I help you out with that? Can I
Yeah,
be
help
very
me out.
transparent? Well, remember, and y'all know this because y'all been with me through all of it. When I went through the most difficult situation in my life ever,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a true story, not making it up.
Mm-hmm. I'm saying.
I prayed, I
Mm-hmm.
fasted, I did
Mm-hmm.
everything that I was
Mm-hmm.
taught to do to
Mm-hmm.
try to
Mm-hmm.
change and reverse the
Mm-hmm.
situation. And it still, not only did it continue to happen, it got worse
Yeah.
to the point that I was so upset with God. And I want
Mm-hmm.
people to hear this. I was so upset with God that I took the Bible that I've been preaching from since the age of 16,
Mm-hmm.
threw it across the bedroom, knocked the
Ooh.
lamp over, and told God, I'll never preach again. And I literally said this. I said, Lord, you can go to hell. I said that now, after I settled down, because this is what happens to us when we are conditioned to think a certain way. After I settled down, then I thought about the account of Job. All right. And I remember a fear coming over me as if, oh Lord, I didn't ruin my life. I done told God we can go to hell. And so
Mm-hmm.
remember, I shared it with you, Dad, and you
Mm-hmm. I
said,
know.
your words to me was, do you think he was offended by what you said?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
That was your emotions. You were speaking from a place where you was broken and so forth. And so those many years ago, and I look at where I am now. So hello, no curse came upon me, nothing was destroyed. I'm still yet operating it
Yeah.
like and I would even say at a higher degree of awareness and
Yeah.
so forth. And see, that's why I want people to understand if we are predestined, there are certain things that's occurring in our life, like y'all said, that was
Mm-hmm.
written before we showed up in the world. The
Mm-hmm.
script,
Hey,
the script was already made. All we are doing is acting out the script.
I heard
Exactly.
this guy say,
Exactly.
he's looking over the congregation, the people out in front of me. He said, I'm looking over the, paraphrasing what he said. There's some pretty women out there in the audience. And I can see some of y'all pretty, but you know what? If it wasn't for this, I'm gonna say it like he said, if it wasn't for them ugly bitches sitting out there beside
I
you,
wouldn't know what's pretty.
you would know what's pretty.
He said, so God
So
has to have
now,
opposites. See,
yeah,
that's what he said.
now, if you
God made you
pretty,
like that.
you need to stay in your lane. Now, if you're ugly as hell, you need to stay in your lane too, because you are doing something in the ugly. You know,
He said, just be what God made you to be.
my aunt used to carry me around when my mama didn't. I was a baby. I remember when she used to pick me up and carry me. I remember her carrying me in her arm, my aunt, and all that. And I told some of the people in the family, I said, I didn't know that my aunt was so ugly. She was ugly. And he looked at me and said, I didn't see why she was ugly. I thought she was good looking. I looked at her and said, what's wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
I said, now, look, ugly is going to have to be there so that you can expose the light. Pretty. Now you're gonna get you, yeah. Everybody got a calling on their life. Some people call to be ugly, some people call to be good looking, some people be called to deal with nothing but
He just said, be what you gotta be,
yeah,
what God made
yeah,
you to be.
yeah.
And that's pretty much what we're coming to. The comedian said it, and he said it, with all of his fanfare with it and flair. But yeah, it's the same thing. Be what God made you to be.
Exactly.
You know, Hoover Dam is running low on water, and Las Vegas is being affected by it tremendously about the lowering tide. And I don't know whether people are going out there to Hoover Dam to. I mean, I wonder whether the crowds done dropped off.
You mean for tours?
Yeah, for tours and watching Hoover Dam. I mean, it's one of the icons of the world. It's one of the wonders of the world. Yeah. But you go out there and look at that water all you want to and pray and ask God. You get everybody in Las Vegas to pee in that lake out there, and it's still.
I knew he was going somewhere with that.
I thought he might be, yeah. But you know what?
They ain't gonna be able to feel it out.
Let me just stay there for a minute. Don't say that. That was the Message Bible that you were reading out of, was it
Right.
not?
And I encourage it was the Message Bible that I read it out, but at the Amplified just well. But I encourage anyone that goes to that particular verse, read it from several different translations. See, that's what people don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't when I study and God is revealing something to me, because I don't prepare sermons. I don't. I hear something that God is saying. I start researching it. And when he gives me the scriptures to go to, that's the thing. He'll tell me where to go. Okay. And I'll go there. And so when I came across that, and I preached from that book times before, but it never hit me the way that it's hitting me now. And so I began to look at it from several different translations. And matter of fact, when I shared it with the congregation, I read it from 4 translations.
Yeah,
I want them to see we can't allow ourselves to get caught up into, and I created a word, religiosity. All right, where we are caught up in our rituals, our ceremonies, our activities and stuff, and then we say that was a move of God.
But go back to what you said you did. You were praying and all of this when you were going through that situation.
Yes,
and there's scripture for what you're saying in Matthew 6:6, and Dad uses this scripture all the time. Mm-hmm. But as for you, when you pray, enter into your inner chamber and lock your door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret shall himself reward you openly. Not for what you say. Exactly. Just seeing you. Exactly. And then he said in the 7th verse, and when you pray, do not repeat your words like the pagans, for they think that because of much talking, they will be heard.
Exactly.
My wife went outdoors with my dog when she was sick. I mean, this dog was bleeding out of the opposite end. She was scared to go in the grass. She didn't know what to do. And when she get like that, she'll come up, stand close to you. Mm-hmm. And she knows that she comes to us because she knows
she's asking for help.
She asking for help. Mm-hmm. And she said, please help. So here's what my wife did. This lady here, right beside me, I heard her come in and tell me, say, you know how I got baby girl to let go? I said, how? She said, I went back there in the back end and pinched her on the butt.
Yeah, I did.
I said, baby, I've been trying
I
to get you to
I
pinch me on my
literally
butt for years.
I be quiet. I literally just massaged around her little poo poo boo boo.
Well, you didn't do
And
me like
and
that.
she did it.
Why are you doing it? I've been like that too. I've been all blocked up and you didn't massage my woodoo woodoo out of me. And the dog went the dog went the dog jumped in high gear and been fixed ever since.
She did
I
it.
said, you got this secret. You ought to patent this pinching on the butt thing. I said, I've been waiting for 50 of you to pinch me on my butt so I get straightened
Well,
out.
she's asking for help. So I
I'm asking
did
for
what
help.
I thought would make her think she
She
should
didn't
help.
help me.
Then
She ain't helped me since.
Can I thank
That's
Linda?
just the way God is, ain't it?
I want to thank Linda for saying that because like I shared with my people Sunday, I mean I became very transparent on this past Sunday, but I made a promise that I would, because people are being misled when we're trying to be something else and rather than be honest to the people, and so people don't understand to do what we do. Matter of fact, I had a major meeting Tuesday. It was supposed to be Monday, but I had a major meeting Tuesday. Now these people was seeking for me. I wasn't reaching out to them. They were seeking for me.
Yeah.
And so I had this meeting on Tuesday, and one of the things that was said by one of the gentlemen that I did not expect, he said to me, do you understand to do what you do is the hardest job in the world?
Yes, it is. It is. And I want to say that it does take great courage. Great courage. That to me, for a minister, particularly in the arena that you and I and Pastor have walked in, it takes a lot of courage to go against the grain.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do, you're not saying that all of the things that were done and that you experienced before and people who are still experiencing it that way are wrong. You're not saying that. It was necessary. It was beneficial. And it still helps some people, but it helps them only to a point.
Exactly.
And we're interested in taking them all the way as far as we can. As far as we go, we want them to go with us.
Let me tell you something I've been experimenting with this dog. And watch it. Well, hold on for a minute.
I'm just going to mention Linda. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. I got a cookie jar in there. And every night they go to bed, go upstairs, and the door's half shut. Mm-hmm. Baby girl knows where this jug is set up on the cabinet in there. So
it's a glass cookie jar.
Yeah, and it's got peanut butter cookies in it. So
and she knows where they are. She knows where they are.
She knows exactly where it is. So
last night I was up there asleep.
Yeah.
I was asleep. Yeah. Baby girl was asleep. And I had the door half shut.
Yeah.
We couldn't hear him at all.
Hey.
All of a sudden she jumps up.
Yeah.
She jumps up and she runs downstairs. And I'm thinking, is she sick? So I got up with her and went down. He was in there eating cookies.
And you know when I pull
the
lid off, when I
put your head in the cookie jar,
when I pull the toppers off, I set it down real easy where she won't hear it. Because if she hear it, I don't care what time
she'll hear it if you open it.
So when I did, I let it down on that real light, and I looked around the corner to see if she heard it. She walked up on me like a mouse in a house, mouse on cotton, and there she was standing. I said, now how in the world did you hear that? Now, you know why I'm saying this? I'm saying that this dog cannot out-hear God.
That's good, Dad. That's good.
That dog got the hearing of God. She has to, because I know I didn't make no noise for her to hear about the cookies come out. And I'm sitting in there in the chair at 12:30 last night. This monkey Bill Joe walks up beside me and sitting there looking at me.
It was funny because when I came down the stairs, I was wondering if she had come down and had to throw up or something, because we've been dealing with a lot of stuff with her.
Yeah.
But she's doing good.
When
I went in there, where she was right there at his feet, watching him eating cookies. She actually heard you go in there and get those cookies.
Do you know there's a type of dog
let me tell you something else that she did.
What?
We went to, he had a doctor's appointment on last last Tuesday, I think it was. We
Mm-hmm.
took her with us. I stayed out in the car and we walked around a little bit in the parking lot with baby girl. And while he was inside, and there was no way she could have heard him. But when he got ready to come out in the waiting room, she was laying down in the back seat in the back of the Jeep. And I was looking at my phone, looking at some videos and whatever, could not hear anything.
In the car.
She all of a sudden jumps up and looks at the door, and there
Here
he
I
comes.
come. She knew it.
She could hear that.
She could hear the small. She could hear a mouse waiting on cotton. She heard it just as plain as day. I said, "I'll set that top down." I said, "What I'm going to do? I'm going to set it down real. Take my time." My conscious awareness said, "Somebody looking at you." I thought I was going to be sneaky.
It's funny.
Now she know we're talking about it now.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
God, let me tell you something. You always hear this in church. God may not come when you want, but it's always on time. That's the biggest bunch of pig stuff I've ever heard.
That's a religious cliche. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody need to fan their tail with a brick.
Well, it helps somebody.
Fan my tail with a brick.
And I just realized something with you guys with baby girl.
What's that?
And y'all talk about it so much, and y'all may be very aware of it, but it just was impressed on me just now. You guys, along with baby girl, is the perfect example of what you've been trying to convey to the masses about oneness. Y'all are one with baby girl is one with y'all, and y'all are one with baby girl.
Yeah, that's
Linda
true.
says she's inside of us.
That's she's talking about your little dog you had.
Well, she is.
What was his name?
Fuzzy.
Fuzzy was it?
Mhm.
Yeah, Linda said Fuzzy was inside of you. But
Now
yeah.
you know. Look, out of all
But
that
yeah,
we've said
you're right,
today,
Norm. That's exactly right.
now what we're trying to say is, and we're saying it. It's going to get you. We are expressing to all you guys. It may sound funny and cutting up and all. What we're saying to you, this is the rest to the people of God.
Mm-hmm.
You can't change the spots on a leopard back. You can't change the stripes on a zebra back. There's a dog that we found out this morning that it can jump up on your shoulder and crawl up a straight wall. This dog can crawl up a wall.
Yeah, it was Belgian Malinois. I think that's the name of
It's
it.
designed to travel up wall. Now,
Well, it's athletic.
yeah.
They call it an athletic wolf kind. But anyway.
Here's my point in all this. Again, go ahead on. If you, I'm not against anything. I'm not for anything. You're gonna sit there and you're gonna drink your wine, your beer, and your liquor. And hey, wait a minute. Let me tell you this. I got. Well, hold on. Don't make no face. The receptionist in the doctor's office. Well, I'd be sitting there, and she'd do it every time I'm there. She'd be whispering, talking to somebody on the telephone while I'm there. She'd be just a whispering, and I could tell the way she's talking. She ain't talking to her husband. She's talking to a man. She's talking to somebody that he don't, and she won't do it when the patients go in. She'll set it down and she go talking. Then and I'm looking at. She think that I can't hear her conversation on the phone and who she talking to. But whoever she talking to, she's sneaky. She is so sneaky. So I'm waiting for the time to come around. I'm going to ask her a question such. I don't make a statement. I know who you're talking to on the phone.
And what would be your reason for doing that?
I don't know. I just want to tell her. You see, here's my point.
You know, made a lot of points now.
Take a deep breath and watch God do what you didn't ask him to do. Watch God move in an area that you wouldn't expect because he is never asleep. You can go to the hospital, the doctor can pronounce something on you, and it's very sad now When we hear all these people in our church around that got cancer and some of them are crossing over at this age that we are, in a minute, a second, a twinkling of an eye, it can happen. You know what? I want to take God in. Hey, oh boy, I want to take God down in the woods and have a good talk with him and ask him, why do you work like this? I said, now here's a good one. If God always tell his secrets to the prophets, you heard something like that?
Amos 3:7.
How does it say it? Now you say it to me.
God does nothing without first revealing his secrets to his servants, the prophet.
That's a lie.
Exactly.
That is a lie. That is a lie. And I don't care if God get mad at it. That is a lie. God don't reveal everything to these prophets like that thing say. There's some things, I heard Catherine Kuhlman say, there's an area of God that he don't let anybody in on what he's doing, on the glory of God. There's some things that Moses experienced in the temple, even though he come out of there with his face shining like the light body. There were some things Moses didn't say, and these fort busters can't put it in the book because there's some things that God is doing right now with some of us out there. Nobody can know about it but you and him. And then there's some things that you ain't gonna know because if you find out, Roberson used to say by praying, there's some things you God will keep to yourself because if you get in it, you mess it up.
Exactly.
And on that note, now that you killed all the sacred cows,
yeah.
You just killed a sacred cow, so we might need to get off. So we'll see you next week, if Lord willing, at 12:30 with Impromptu. Pastor Norman, it's been great again.
Yes, always a pleasure.
Hey,
what?
Moses wanted to.
Don't start.
Wait, hold on now. Moses wanted to see God face to face, and God told him, said no. Right. Any man see my face, he ain't gonna live. He'll die, right, physically. So
I have a revelation of that, but I ain't gonna share that.
Yeah. Hey. So when God passed him, God let Moses couldn't see nothing but his butt. Mm-hmm. God got more power in his butt than any of the prophets got in their mouth. Mm-hmm. And prophesying. So that means the backside of God, when he turns his back on you, that don't mean he's mad at you. That don't mean you don't miss God. It means that there's something he's doing in secret that you may not be ready to handle if you saw it and heard it.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly.
Thank you. I'm through.
Amen.
I'm through.
Amen and a woman.
I'm through.
You through. Okay.
I'm retired.
No, my God. No, I got you. Pastor Norman, I love you. You guys, love you. We'll see you next time.
Hey, Pastor.
Great day.
Pastor.
Why you, darling? I'm ending the broadcast.
Well, I ain't ending yet.
Holy moly. You guys. All right. We love you. We'll see you next time.
Don't